Alright guys, welcome to my collection tour.
Alright, we're just gonna go over everything that I've gotten over the last, 6 years. There's Hot Toys, Marvel Legends, Black Series, NECA figures, Funko, Jada toys, some Lego, and prop replicas, so let's get started. Alright, we're gonna begin with this, custom garage shelf that I made with help, and so it's basically just a garage shelf with a piece of plywood screwed onto the back, and some, fabric-covered shelves, and the back part is covered in fabric as well, and some lighting and some plexiglass magnetically attached onto there. So, starting off at the top, here I have some Lego buildable characters, but there's also an Umbra operative Funko there. So here's the original Yoda buildable character, and then there's Grogu, the new Chopper, and there's C-3PO back there. And then we have the newer R2-D2 as well. There's a Droideka with the original BB-8 and a BD-1. And then there's also a little Republic Commando pop right there. And then here's the first Hot Toys Clone Wars shelf, except I have Kenobi Vader there randomly. And he has a Ironwork saber, which is really nice. And then there's Fives and the Clone Wars Anakin. It's the original Clone Wars version. And then there's the Attack of the Clones Jango Fett and the Ahsoka series Padawan Ahsoka with the Clone Wars Obi-Wan. And then there's a 501st guy back there and Phase 1 Cody. It's the 2.0. So yeah, that's the Clone Wars shelf with a random Vader because I don't know where else to put him. But anyway, moving down here, we have Darth Revan, which is a really cool figure. And then here's the Mandalorian Luke. And then here's Balin and Shen. And those are some super good figures. Love those head sculpts. Anyways, down here I just have some Lego stuff for now. I'll have Hot Toys eventually. But here was the Tantive 4 hallway. And Clone Walker, N1 Starfighter, the newest ATTE. It's the original Phantom with the newer Ghost. And then there's just some more stuff on the bottom shelf, like the Slave One and 501st Walker and some Battle Pack stuff and random minifigures that I've got over the years. All right, and moving over to the right, we have the Apex Time Chaos Ultra display case on a little shelf there. So yeah, this is a really cool case, and there's a Hot Toys Joker in there. But yeah, this has a whole bunch of different lighting combinations that you can do. I will have a video of this out pretty soon, probably next week. So that'll probably be the next video. But yeah, this is really cool. There's Joker in there, which is one of my favorite figures. And he's also my only DC Hot Toys figure, which is why he's in here all by himself. But moving down here, we have the new Black Series Vader versus Luke duel on Bespin, which is a really cool set. I could do a video on that at some point. But yeah, moving up to kind of the main shelves here, we have the X-Men shelf, which I'm missing a lot of main X-Men like Gambit and Rogue and stuff and Storm, but here's a random 12-inch Wolverine with a Magneto, and then here's a Sentinel fighting armor Wolverine, and then there's some astonishing figures with Beast showing you his comic, and then there's Phoenix with the cool effect piece, and here's some movie Deadpool figures, and then kind of moving into an X-Men 97 section, there's Nightcrawler with Cable and Cyclops. And then moving over, we got the Marvel vs. Capcom Juggernaut with the Mezco Wolverine, which is a really cool figure. Although the trunks on mine are kind of starting to peel a little bit, which kind of worries me. But moving down here to a shelf of just a bunch of random figures. Here's the NECA Big Chap, which is really cool. And then here's the LPZZ Deathstroke, which is probably one of my best figures, fighting the Maximum Deadpool with Dupe right there. And then moving into a TMNT section, we got the Last Ronin, which is a really cool comic. And then here's the 2012 line of figures. I'm just missing the foot soldiers, but these are really great. And I really like these. This is the show that I basically grew up watching. So these are basically the turtles that I know. I also read the Last Ronin comic, though, and that was really cool, so that's why I got that. But moving down here, we got an Avenger shelf with Hulkbuster fighting Hulk. And then there's Ultron fighting a Mark I Iron Man, which is pretty cool. And then over here, that's an old Wasp and Giant Man from a Ultron Build-A-Figure wave in 2015. There's Dormammu I have here, and then just a bunch of other characters in the middle with Thanos and Vision and Iron Man and Cap and Black Panther. And then here we have Hawkeye and Black Widow on the Sky Cycle, I think is what it's called. And then we have Red Skull here shooting at Cap, which is pretty cool. And then moving over, we got War Machine and a really good Odin figure. That's probably my favorite Marvel Legend. Then we got the Terminator-looking Ragnarok Thor against classic Loki from the show. I think he fits there. But here is my prequel Star Wars shelf. So there's a whole bunch of stuff here. So this is the Bandai model kit Grievous, and he's going up against a whole bunch of Jedi and clones. You got Wolf there, Plo Koon, Ahsoka, stopping his lightsaber from killing this other Bandai clone model kit that I weathered. Hu Yang's just preoccupied with that, and then there's a Black Series 501st clone there. And then we have Commander Bly, and there's Omega on top of Wrecker, and there's Bakara fighting against the Super Battle Droid. And then we have Commander Fox right here on the comlink. And then we got Captain Rex, and there's Anakin fighting a Magna Guard. And then we also got Crosshair back there, which that's customized too. And then here's Gree. He's grieving a fallen clone. That was terrible. And then here's that's the like older version of Cody. And then there's the Magna Guard. And then here's a Jedi Temple Guard. He's just standing there, as they usually do. And then back here we have a Umbra operative clone. He's taking down a Droideka. You can't see it that good, but it's still a pretty cool pose. So yeah, he's back there dealing with that. And then here's Mace Windu right here, and he's about to slice off Jango's head, as one does. But this is the newest Jango, which I have a review of this on the channel. You can check that out. But yeah, so there's a whole bunch of scenes here. But moving over, we got Palpatine fighting against Maul right there, and his brother Savage over here, which is pretty great. It's kind of recreating that Clone Wars scene. And then here we got Malgus and Malik fighting against Revan. So yeah, pretty proud of this shelf. There's a whole bunch going on though, but I still think it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's just all the prequel stuff. But moving up and over to some fire escape shelves, we have the Spider-Man section. So there's Null and Venom with wings and a random Gore, which he kind of connects to the Necro Sword, but he's not really Spider-Man, but that's okay. And then here's a TASM 2 Electro and No Way Home Green Goblin with a Venom and another symbiote, and there's a Black Suit Spider-Man, which that's like an old figure. I don't even think it's a Marvel Legend. It's some random thing. But here's a Sandman and the Renew Your Vows Spidey, and Anti-Venom with Carnage, the Spot, and then there's Doc Ock and Spider-Man from No Way Home, and I like those bendy tentacles. They're pretty cool. So then moving down here, we have the Iron Spider with those Waldos, and then here's a integrated suit with a pipe cleaner web, which doesn't really look like a web, but that's okay. And then here's a Peter B. Parker and Spider Noir, and there's Spinneret. And then we got a portal opening with Spider-Ham and Spider-Punk, and then there's the new red and blue suit Spider-Man, and Scarlet Spider and Andrew's Spider-Man. All right, so that's basically it for the Spider section, and then here's a zoomed out look at all of these shelves, which is a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, that's basically that section of the collection. But then moving up and over again, we have some 3D printed helmets that I smoothed out and painted and stuff. These are from Galactic Armory files. So those are pretty cool. I could in the future make some videos of me making some helmets, so that'd be cool too. But so those I made, but over here we got some Black Series ones. There's the Boba and Scout Trooper, and those are cool too. So moving over and down, we have a Detoff with a Marvel Legends Nano Gauntlet and a little Venom and Groot from Hot Toys. But moving into the main section here is the Hot Toys Moon Knight, which I really like how I pose that cape. This is a great figure. It has a giant base for no reason though. But down here we have Deadpool and Wolverine, which are super cool. I love that Wolverine and Deadpool. These are some of my favorites. But yeah. So those are great. But moving down, we have a symbiote suit from the Spider-Man 2 game with those big old Waldo thingies. And then down here we got Miles from Into the Spider-Verse, which is also a pretty cool figure. But moving down here is a little like riser that I have some Jada Toy Street Fighter on. You got Dalsum punching and kicking Bison and Ken at the same time. And then below them there's Ryu fighting Chun-Li. So yeah, I'm kind of out of room of Street Fighter stuff, but I still want more, so I don't really know what I'm going to do. But going over to this other shelf here, it's an IKEA Mills bow. Here's one of my favorite things. Jarvis, open the mask. Close the mask. Yeah, I think you can tell why. That is a really cool helmet. Obviously didn't make that one. But yeah, here's some like Mandalorian and Boba Fett made out of like nuts and bolts. And then there's another little helmet that I made. Basically like a custom design. And then here's the Endgame Thanos figure from Hot Toys. And Carnage from Let There Be Carnage. And that's one of my favorite figures because it just looks so good. And then here's the Battle Damage Mark 85 next to Endgame Cap. So yeah, this is kind of like an Endgame section, sort of, but here's the empty space for the Artisan Winter Soldier that'll come in. I'll probably put him next to Cap, though. And then we have Endgame Thor, just to match the other Endgame stuff, even though he's not really the best version of Thor. But here we got some YOLO Park Transformer stuff, which is also some of my favorite figures. These are great. I can't wait for more. I'm definitely getting that Tarn. But moving over to another DTOF, we have a Hot Toys Nano Gauntlet that I got for free from Sideshow when they were giving away stuff. And then here's a model kit Yoda and a little Grogu, because I have like 1,000 of those. But moving down to some more figures, we have the Bird Poop Boba Fett, as some people call it, because he's looks like he's got bird poop all over his armor. But yeah, so and then here's the new General Grievous figure that I got, which I also have a review of, so you can check that out. And that's could be my favorite figure. But here is my first Hot Toys figure, the original Beskar Mando. So still have that, and I still like that figure. I think it's pretty good. And here's a customized Bandai 1/6 Stormtrooper model kit. We just put some gray on him and weathering, and then there's a poncho from the Hot Toys Anakin that I have. There's some helmets. But down here we got some more Street Fighter. There's Vega, and then there's Gael doing a flash kick with a little accessory that I took from another figure, and then Fei Long, and then there's Blanca and Sagat. So here's the whole section there. So the DTOFs have Luke lights, and then the middle shelf is just some random lights from Amazon that I had gotten first. But over here we got a little shelf with the Mudhorn logo on it with some Mandalorian pops there. And then there's a big old Transformer and some other stuff. So then over here to some more shelves, we have kind of a MCU shelf. There's Wanda, Strange, there's a Marvel Select, Hulk and Iron Man, and there's Fat Thor again, Iron Patriot, Ronin, there's Ultron, and there's Kang grabbing a Ant-Man. And then there's a bunch of Funkos. I don't really get these anymore, but I collected these for a while. And there's a Love and Thunder Thor and an Odin, and there's the Grandmaster and Korg. And then we got some other pops. There's Thanos and Korg and the 3 Spideys, and then there's a random Red Skull. And then here's some more Funkos, mostly MCU stuff. So yeah, I'm not going to go over every single one, but here's He Who Remains. I guess he's talking to Stan Lee there. And then we have Moon Knight and Mr. Knight with a little Khonshu head in the middle. And there's Taskmaster, if you could really call it that. Got that before the movie came out, but there's Shang-Chi and U.S. Agent, and there's Sam, Captain America, and Hydra Stomper. Then here's another case of Funkos. These are like zombie ones and a bunch of random characters as Venomized. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of those. But then over here we got MODOK. And then there's a Zombie Captain America, Defender Strange, Ghost Rider, Cosmic Iron Man, Grim Reaper, and a Punisher War Machine. And then there's some other random stuff. But right here, this is basically a Spider-Man case with some Deadpool as well. So yeah, that Deadpool duck is pretty funny. And then there's Darkhawk. He's just flying up there fighting Constrictor, which we're supposed to be getting a new one of those. There's this dude punching a clone that my dog chewed up, and then here's this guy, Surtur, is killing him. I got those when I was young, and I don't even know who they are. And there's a Grogu. But here's kind of like a Fantastic Four and X-Men shelf of Funkos. So yeah, there's a lot of those. And then there's like a crazy Doctor Strange from What If and Alligator Loki. And then here's kind of a section of little 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figures that are pretty old. So yeah, I just kind of have those there right now. And there's a couple more pops there too. And then moving to the last shelf here is some Deadpool and a Unicorn and a bunch of Star Wars ones as well. So yeah, there's just a bunch of those. Not really going to go over each one, as I said, but yeah, this is kind of another MCU shelf. I used to be part of like a subscription thing where you would get some like every couple months or something, but yeah. So moving over, there's some posters, and then here's kind of like a, I guess like a Super Smash Bros. Shelf, but it also has a Guardian there. So yeah, there's a Meta Knight, and there's a Beam Kirby. Then you got the Mario Nindoroid. Some of these shelves are super dusty. Probably should have dusted, but I didn't want to. But here's some Amiibo from Smash as well. So yeah, there's just a random video game shelf there. But over here we got some more Star Wars stuff. So there's Admiral Akbar being choked by Vader. Then we got some sequel stuff, some model kits. That's the Bandai Vader model kit. And then there's, just different figures in here. Black Chrysanthemum, that's a really cool figure. And then there's the model kit C-3PO, which I feel like that's one of the best C-3POs because it's super shiny. And then there's Greedo and Cad Bane and the Return of the Jedi Boba shooting his flamethrower at Rick the Door Technician. But, there's a Salacious B. Crumb there as well, and R2. That's the model kit as well. And a little Yoda, which is also a model kit. But down here we got, this is the original Beskar Mando and the Death Watch Mando. And then there's Heavy Mando and Bo-Katan fighting Moff Gideon. And there's a Death Trooper, a Stormtrooper model kit, an IG-11 Black Series. And there's the original Sand Trooper. And there's a model kit Death Trooper and Dark Trooper. But then moving into this closet, I got some sealed Lego sets that I'll probably sell eventually because I just have them in here. But here's some more. There's like the Bad Batch, as well as a little concept Vader in there. I don't really know what to do with this stuff. Here's a Star Wars logo and some pins that I've got from that subscription of Funkos. Then here's some holiday Star Wars figures. So yeah, and a broken Dark Trooper. There's a Hot Toys holographic Iron Man that I got for free from Sideshow because they were giving away because nobody bought that. And then here's my collection of Star Wars and some Marvel helmets and heads, I guess. Because, yeah, Venom, I guess, is a head, not a helmet. But yeah, so there's the Marvel ones. And then down here we got more. I pretty much have all of the helmets except the Star-Lord one, and I don't have the Batman ones. So I think those are the only ones I'm missing. But, yeah, so there's Rex and Cody. But over here we have some model kits and Funkos. Bobble, that's pretty old. And there's a little Transformers Prime Megatron. And here's the Sideshow Baby Yoda. So yeah, we got that. So this is basically the end of the collection tour. Here's a look at this section again. So this is basically all that. And then here's the other section as well. So yeah, a whole bunch of crap, but it's awesome. But yeah, so this is basically the end of this video. I got some videos coming up on the Chaos Ultra Emma Frost figure, which I just got from X-Men 97. And then we also will have a review of the new Silver Surfer coming up. And the Hot Toys Terminator from T2 will be coming soon, as well as the DX God Loki. So look out for reviews of that stuff, and I will catch you guys later. So I guess hit like. I've never said that before. Anyways, this is getting weird. Goodbye.